Welcome. Uh, Give me a sec. My eyes are playing up. Okay, you're starting to come back into view. Wait, why is everything on fire? Anyway, welcome to episode 534 of an Unearthly podcast, streaming live on the 5th of April, 2025, and featuring Snowblind, written by David Bishop, and starring Elizabeth Sladen as Sarah Jane Smith, and Jez Fielder as Josh Townsend. Sadie Miller as Nat is Sir not appearing in this audio. I am your host for the evening, Alex Fireheart. The one in black, Bill Sylvia, is not able to join us. But we do have his notes. And with me is Erin Romeo Moonberg, who's doing the hosting duties for the stream.
Hello.
So how has your... I guess it's been probably over a month now since...
It's been a
last talked
while.
with you about this.
My dad's in hospice, and then of course my mother passed away back in November. So it's been pretty hectic right now. So, especially since neither of them really had much in the way of wills made up. Supposedly my dad has now gotten an official will through my aunt, although now he's thinking about disputing that and coming up with a different will with my uncle. So there's a bunch of other stuff. So I don't know exactly what's going on, but so next week I think we're also planning on doing a stream, which means I think I'm going up north to see my dad, so I may not be around for that either. So I'll try to keep everybody informed. Yeah, because my dad's meeting with one of my uncles. He comes from a pretty large Catholic family. Like, I think he had 6 brothers and 1 sister or something like that. Yeah. So, yeah, there's a lot of people around him. But other than that, nothing much else going on. I managed to get through the tutorial, I think, of Monster Hunter Wilds. I haven't gotten to fighting the frog yet, but that's one thing I've been doing. Made the title card here. Yay! Got to use my art degrees for that. For something anyway. Trying to think what else. Oh, and I got one of Dark Horse Comics is releasing the new volumes of ElfQuest. So all new coloring and stuff. So yeah, it's really cool looking. So I'm really excited about that. I got the first volume in, started reading it, and then of course I ran out of time to read it, so it's kind of sitting on my bookshelf looking to be finished before I move on to the other volumes. And that, so I'm really excited about that. How have you been, Alex?
Kind of up and down in a way. Especially with what went on today. So I guess to pull the curtain back a bit for those listening, the podcast we're doing right now almost didn't happen because I got home after doing an 8 a.m. to 12 p.m. shift, my time. So this is Sunday the 6th where I am, because it's fittingly enough that we have different time zones involved in a time travel focused podcast. And like as I was getting ready to get in the shower, just like someone turned on a tap and my nose just started bleeding quite badly, and I was like, what the fuck? Like, I was very, very pissed off because I was like, it just would not stop. Like, I was just even like pinching my nose, holding my face, or like holding my head over a sink so the blood wasn't going everywhere at one point, and it just would not stop, to the point that I had to like, thankfully I'd already turned my aircon on, I'm pretty sure. Just only in the bed, only for the bedroom, and then like had to duck in there, stood in there for a while to cool down, and then had a cold shower because there was no way. If I'd had a hot shower, it would have immediately started again. So I was like, there was like no way. And the main thing that's gonna bug me is if I ultimately end up having to take tomorrow off, because like I'll probably wake up, because like when this happened on Monday, because something like this happened on Monday, when I woke up Tuesday morning, I was like, well, it's a good thing I decided to see that movie on Wednesday instead, because I am not going anywhere today. Like, I was just out of it. Like, I'd taken some stuff to help, but like it had basically clogged up my sinuses. So like, had I not taken anything, and if it hadn't been a day off so I could like sleep in, I probably would have been screwed. It was like by Wednesday I was fine, but it was like it took me that I needed that day to just recover. So yeah, so and like I was talking about it with Aaron before we started, but it's possible that this is a weird side effect of my ADHD meds now that I'm up to 2 tablets a day. Like, as far as I can tell, it was just to go in like increments of a couple, like 3 to 4 days to ease up to the amount that I'm on. And yeah, I'm just not taking my second tablet today, and we'll probably go off these meds. Yeah, other than that, it's basically just been work and stuff. Like, I've been getting more hours recently, thank God, because God knows I need it, because I've got a trip in June and I'm going to be away for like 2 weeks, I think. Like, only going to be away, like, only going to miss like 1 weekend. But yeah, like, effectively, I'll be away for 2 weeks. So I'm trying to get as much money saved up for that as I can. But I have a psychiatrist appointment on Thursday to pay for, which I'll probably be paying for that. I think it's like either I've got to pay for it by either like tomorrow or Tuesday, I think, like ahead of time. But yeah, it's like we'll see where that goes. And I'm realizing I'm probably just going to have to do the Zoom call on my phone, as much as I don't want to, because it's a cracked screen. Because I'm like, oh crap, he wants my dad to be there for that. I don't have a way that my dad can also have like headphones with this computer, because I don't have a second set. And I don't have like speakers for him to plug like an audio jack into or whatever. So I'm like, oh, yeah, that's just going to have to be on my phone. Oh well. Yeah, I think that's about it. Aside from just stuff we'll get to later, because I've seen a bunch of movies in the interim. But yeah. So on tonight's show, we have birthdays and news. Annoyingly, I didn't check the... Either I didn't check the birthdays, or the March birthdays were a bit in a wonky spot. But anyway.
We thought we could get away with one birthday this month.
Yeah. Not really any current news, because most of what I could find through the usual source we go to we had basically just stuff we'd already covered last time, thankfully. Bulk of it's mostly just going to be Big Finish and Candy Jar books, which is no real shock. Then Geek Talk, and then summary, and then review, final thoughts, and ratings. So starting with the birthdays. On the 23rd of March, we have Joanna Page, who played Elizabeth I in The Day of the Doctor. She turned 47. On the 25th of March, we have Patrick Troughton, portrayed the Second Doctor from 1966 to 1969, as well as playing Salamander in Enemy of the World, and coming back to play the Second Doctor for the Five Doctors and the Two Doctors. He would have been 105, but died in 1987 at the age of 67. On the 26th of March, we have Barry Letts, the Doctor Who producer from 1969 to 1974, and a writer from 1968 to 1975. Would have been 100, but died in 2009 at the age of 84. On the 28th of March, we have Gareth David Lloyd, played Yanto Jones in Torchwood, Series 1 to 3, plus work for Big Finish, turned 44. So moving on to April. On the 1st of April, we have Sydney Newman, who was the head of drama at BBC that commissioned Doctor Who in the first place. Would have been 108, but died in 1997 at the age of 80. Also on the 1st of April, we have John Scott Martin, who was a Dalek operator from 65 to 88. Would have been 99, but died in 2009 at the age of 82. On the 2nd of April, we have Robert Holmes, who was a Doctor Who script editor from 75 to 77, and a writer from 69 to 86. Would have been 99, but died in 1986 at the age of 60. And finally, we have two on the 3rd of April. First, we have Peter Howell, who was a composer from 1980 to 1985, and for Canine and Company, turned 77. And finally, on the 3rd of April, Peter Hawkins, who was a Dalek and Cyberman voice actor from 63 through to 68. Would have been 101, but died in 2006 at 82. So happy birthday, Joanna, Patrick, Barry, Gareth, Sydney, John, Robert, Peter, and Peter.
Happy birthday.
So moving on to the main part of the news and skipping all the way down to events because I could not find anything else. The BFI will be toasting the 2005 revival. So effectively there is an event on celebrating 20 years of New Who. Little blurb on Cultbox says 20 years on from the relaunch of Doctor Who, we look at what it is about this TV phenomenon that connects with different audiences and the themes and devices that have become essential components over the years. Today's event, we screen a couple of episodes from the first series and talk about the impact the show has had over the 60 years since the original program first hit the screens. The event Doctor Who 20 years on takes place on the 4th of May. So next month, by about basically a month from now. NFT 1, BFI South Bank, London. Tickets are on sale from the 10th of April at 12 noon, but I'm assuming because this is the UK, that will be 12 noon UK time. And available via the British Film Institute's website, seemingly. So moving on from that to the first of what will be the bulk of this news. We go to Candy Jar Books because, of course, Candy Jar Books have something coming out. So first up, we have When I Say Run, Run, The Patrick Troughton Years by Tom Dexter. Just to read the little blurb. It all seems like so long ago now, but when Patrick Troughton's era of Doctor Who began on Fireworks Night 1966, nothing about the program would ever seem quite the same again. The second Doctor's arrival was a shock to the system. Both as energized as he was whimsical, it didn't take long for audiences to embrace him as one of the most beloved incarnations of the Time Lord. So effectively, this is just going to be a sort of behind-the-scenes thing of the years that Troughton was there. So from 66 to 69. I'm not sure if it's necessarily like going to have interviews or anything in it, or if it's just sort of as non-fiction kind of a thing. In any case, that is available to pre-order through Candy Jar Books' website. And is effectively going for about £15. Next up, we have Lethbridge Stewart, Blood of Atlantis by Simon A. Forward. Is also available for pre-order. Seemingly it is book 2 of series 3 of these books. Lethbridge Stewart's nephew, Owain Vine, and a group of eco-protester friends are attempting to oppose an operation undertaken by Rolf Vorster, a ruthless South African mining magnate with his own private army, who's out to harvest as much Atlantean riches as he can. Lethbridge Stewart, along with Anne Travers, is called in to investigate a missing Russian submarine that appears to be connected to Atlantis, recruiting the colorful, eccentric archaeologist Sonia Montilla, or Montilla, depending on the nationality there, along the way. All the while, Captain Bugiev. Well, of course, they're going to throw a lot of names at me that I'm probably that I'm going to butcher. And an undercover Spetsnaz team investigating the fate of their government's missing submarine, a complication that could light a major fuse on the Cold War. Meanwhile, Atlantis grows, and its reach is utterly inimical to human life.
I've been kind of wanting to read these books just to see what they were like. I mean, they look like kind of young adult books, but I'm not quite sure.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like being focused on Lethbridge Stewart, they would probably be aimed at a older audience. Not necessarily like purely for adults, but definitely like not aimed at little kids.
Yeah. They look kind of interesting, and they seem to kind of come out of nowhere, so I'd be interested in checking them out here.
Yeah. So next up, we have Lethbridge Stewart Moonblink by Sadie Miller. In July 1969, and mankind is on the moon. Both the United States and Soviet Russia have lunar bases, and both are in trouble. Back on Earth, Anne Travers has learned she is about to be visited by an old friend from America, Dr. Patricia Richards. Lance Corporal Bill Bishop is aware of the visit and is on hands to meet Richards. She brings with her a surprise, one which the Americans and Russians wish to get their hands on. The only man who can truly help Anne, Colonel Lethbridge Stewart, is away in Scotland. It's a game of cat and mouse as Anne and Bishop seek to protect the life of an innocent baby, one that holds the secrets to life on the moon.
Anne Travers, she's from Web of Fear, isn't she? That character?
I think so.
Daughter of Professor Travers from the Yeti serial as well. From
Yes.
Okay. Looks like they're incorporating some previous characters then, so that would be. I don't know about the previous books. I don't have a lot of knowledge about the previous books, but this one in particular seems to be
Yeah.
incorporating a established character as well. Interesting.
So that's all for Candy Jar Books. Moving on to the Big Finish releases, which is going to be a bit. I'm pretty sure I went with stuff that is all. Oh wait, yeah, it's one that's out and two that are coming soon. So it was a bit iffy with how I did this, but anyway. First up, we have Planet Crinoid Nightfall, written by Jonathan Morris and Jonathan S. Powell, and Chris Chapman, and starring Reese Shearsmith and Paul McGann. That is out now, from what I can recall. I forget when exactly, but between the last podcast and now, definitely. And in terms of coming within April, so we don't have to cover them next time, we have Doctor Who: The Companion Chronicles Families, with the following stories: The Temple of Light by Jonathan Morris, Stardust and Ashes by Ian Potter, The White Ship by Paul Morris, and The Y Factor by Christopher Cooper, all narrated by different companions, as is the case with that. And finally, in terms of stuff releasing, technically one of the news things I could have put here, but I decided to put it later. But we have Dark Gallifrey Missy Part 1. So written by Roshana Patel and starring Michelle Gomez.
Interesting. I wonder if is that an alternate universe where of Gallifrey, or is that looks like it's kind of horror themed.
Yeah, like I forget the setup, or if it's just like kind of a what happens behind closed doors kind of a thing. I forget. It's been a while since, because I feel like we might have covered when that was like first a thing, and probably read out a blurb, but I forget.
Yeah, because Michelle Gomez, that was a while ago that we were introduced to Missy, so.
Yeah. So moving on to some Big Finish news. Let's see, where was the blurb for this? We are getting a new spin-off, as Big Finish has announced a Smith and Sullivan Reunited, with Sadie Miller playing Sarah Jane Smith, and Christopher Naylor playing Dr. Harry Sullivan. The article on Cultbox says here, Sarah Jane Smith, investigative journalist, Dr. Harry Sullivan, unit operative. Together they journey the stars with the Doctor, but when the adventure ends, what can they do? Reunited in the chaos of the 1980s London, Sarah and Harry find danger and darkness lurking beneath the metropolitan veneer of wealth and technology. The trusty supercomputer K9 and the brilliant Lavinia Smith alongside, new adventures are just beginning. Which, yes, I did forget that in the like, a lot's happened in the past day. But yeah, we'll be getting 3 new audio dramas. So the actors I just mentioned, alongside John Leeson as K9 and Annette Badland playing Sarah's Aunt Lavinia, which I think outside of like, because this does bring up that Aunt Lavinia does appear in K9 and Company, played by a different actress, but this is the first time I think I could be wrong, but this is the first time I've heard of, at least, Big Finish doing anything with Aunt Lavinia. She's always just kind of been a background mention.
Yeah, like I
So
almost forgot that she existed. I've been watching like Doctor Who on like Pluto TV,
mm,
and Roku has a 24/7 channel, as well as Amazon actually has a 24/7 Doctor Who channel too, that seems to
mm,
mirror the Pluto one. But yeah, so I've seen a lot of the Sarah Jane Smith adventures or rewatched them. So
mm.
um, yeah, and I
Yeah.
don't even remember her really being mentioned all that much in the classic series.
Yeah, she probably comes up like once or twice, and then I think she comes up in Sarah Jane Adventures a couple of times, and obviously she comes up in the audios we're discussing at the moment a decent amount. Um, uh, enough for it to be notable anyway. But yeah, so yeah. Additionally, the Smith and Sullivan Reunited contains The Caller by Tim Foley, Union of the Snake by Roland Moore, and Blood Type by Simon Gieria. Yeah. Apologies for most likely butchering that name. And now we get to the bit of news that could have been in new releases because part of this is already out. But in any case, we are getting Big Finish has announced and released part of already Doctor Who Hooklight, a 12-part audio adventure released in 2 volumes. So, 6 parts over 2 volumes, going by how this is turning out. The story features the 5th Doctor and his original TARDIS crew. Promises planet-destroying peril, monsters, and immense cliffhangers. I forget if there was. Oh yeah, so joining Peter Davison, Matthew Waterhouse as Adric, Sarah Sutton as Nissa, and Janet Fielding as Tegan. The fantastical story features guest performances from Celia Imrie and Kieran Bew. So yeah, 12-part epic over 2 parts. Hooklight 1 is out now, and Hooklight 2 comes out in May. I forget the
I'm
exact date, but some
Wow.
point in May.
I'd actually try buying this here. It's been a while since I bought a Big Finish audio adventure, but I did listen. Did you listen to the trailer that they released or watch it? Because it is actually fully animated. I
Oh,
mean,
I didn't end up having. It didn't end up having time.
oh yeah, like it's the characters don't actually appear, but there's Peter Davison
Hmm.
does a voiceover for it and everything.
Ah, yeah.
So just like expounding on the mystery of the hook light and that it's kind of this mystical thing that he encounters. So, and I'm excited to see the original. Uh, I wouldn't say I keep wanting to say trilogy, but like the original 3 companions for the 5th Doctor. I'm
Hmm.
really excited to see that because that's something from my childhood too. So
Hmm.
cool.
So we blasted through the news pretty quickly because there wasn't really a ton of it. So thankfully, we do have plenty of time for Geek Talk, even though I've only got 3 things anyway. And 2 of these were held off from last time because we had a lot. And I didn't want it to get too, like, uh, backlogged with stuff. But in any case,
Cool.
first up, I forget how long ago I saw it, but I saw the movie Black Bag, which effectively it's because I think I saw like a trailer for it before I saw it, and then was like, Yeah, why not? I like some of the actors in this. I'll give it a shot. And like, it's funny because it's one of those spy movies where uh it's much more like if you're going into a spy movie for like over the top James Bond style action scenes and stuff like that, or like Jason Bourne style action scenes and stuff, then this is not the one for you because this is much like slower, a lot more. It's a lot more about interpersonal drama
Is
and
it like
like
Tinker Tailor Soldier
actual.
Spy?
I haven't seen it, so I can't really compare it. But it's generally like it's a lot of they are investigating something because the idea is there's like a leak or something in their like department, and they're trying to figure out. Michael Fassbender's character is tasked with figuring out who it is, and there's an implication that it could be his wife, who's played by Kate Blanchett. And him basically trying to narrow down who it is.
The one woman looks like Michael from Star Trek Discovery. At least in this image. Maybe it's just how she's drawn, but do you know
Could
if
be,
it's
yeah.
the same actress?
Not sure. I think a lot of the people in this that weren't like I recognized like on that the poster I gave, I recognize like 4 out of the 7 people. Yeah, like I definitely enjoyed it, but it is very much a if you prefer these kinds of movies to be less talk, more action, then this is not a movie you should bother with. But if you are fine with sort of, for lack of a better phrase, slower paced spy stuff where there's still a lot of spy stuff going on, but it's just not, the high tech gadgets and stuff of James Bond or this, that, the other. So long as you are fine with those kinds of movies, this is definitely worth watching in my eyes. Because it's very workplace drama kind of thing in a way, but spy shit's happening at the same time. So moving on from that.
Yeah, it doesn't look like it's her, so I don't see her name on the
Yeah.
cast list, so
Hmm.
I would have liked to see her. I know she's like in some new movie that's coming out here. A new movie, maybe it was a TV show, but yeah. It's nice to see that she's doing work. But I liked her in Star Trek Discovery.
So moving on from that, I also decided to give the movie The Monkey a chance, which is based on a short story by Stephen King. Very funny, I'll say that. Like is like this is absolutely leaning into being a horror comedy. Which like I don't know if the trailer that I had seen was long enough to give off the impression that that's what the tone was going to be. So that was like a pleasant surprise. Because like, I guess it doesn't like fully lean into the idea. There are some serious moments here and there. But like, there is definitely a lot of like comedy horror stuff going on. And I mean like this is based on a Stephen King thing because I'm pretty sure a decent chunk of this takes place in Maine. and one of the side characters looks like they've done this. Like, I don't know if this is how he's described in the short story, if this even is a character from the short story, but like, there's a guy in it who flat out is done up to look like the lead singer of the Ramones. And I'm like it clicked. Like, I don't think it clicked immediately, but I was like, that looks familiar. And by the time the movie was over, I was like, oh, okay. He looks like the guy from the Ramones. So that's probably intentional, whether it was just a nod to the fact that the Ramones either are one of or are just flat out Stephen King's favorite band. Which is why they did the song for Pet Cemetery in the 80s.
Okay.
I think, or it was like he was keen on getting them to do it because he was a fan of theirs, if I remember right. But yeah, I can't really go into much without spoiling, aside from the fact that this is just like, you know, it looks like it's just a normal like toy monkey thing that hits a drum. But the idea is every time it does that, like it does its little wind up thing, someone ends up dead.
Hmm.
And it's like, it's random. You can't tell it to kill someone. And then it'll happen. It's always random.
Interesting.
Yeah, pretty good acting as well from like the main actor who's effectively got to play twin brothers and makes them distinct people as well, because you can run into the thing of like, this is obviously just one person doing both roles, but I feel like it worked. I mean, I could be wrong and maybe they are twins, but I think it is just the one actor doubled.
Yeah, I keep confusing this movie with Monkey Shines, which I thought was also a Stephen King novel, but it is not. Monkey Shines is written by Michael Stewart, and apparently has no connection at all with this movie. It's I was thinking that this movie might, be a prequel or something to it, but they are not connected at all. Both feature toy monkeys, though.
So moving on from that to Looney Tunes Day the Earth Blew Up, which was the movie that my nosebleed problems, like on Monday, almost fucked me over to not see because I had to move the thing friggin' back a day. My God, I'm glad I saw this because this is fucking hilarious. Like, and I'll have more to say about this in general because it's fresher in my mind. The other two I saw like last month. But yeah, like holy crap. I was, as much as I was entertained, I was also pissed off because it's like, why would you sit on this, Warner Brothers? Like, you go through the trouble of getting this made or like green lighting it at all when you could have just not, if you were like that against Looney Tunes being allowed to have another movie or whatever the hell. Because like apparently like the guy running Warner Brothers Discovery like
Zaslav,
like
I believe his
like
name
either
is.
like seemingly the thing going around is that he either hates animation or maybe like specifically hates the Looney Tunes. Either way,
He's
it would make
canceled
a lot
the.
of sense.
Yeah, he's canceled the. I would say animation in general, which is stupid. Why would you? Why would you be in charge of something that is both live action and the whole thing was that they absorbed the Cartoon Network catalog for
Yeah.
HBO Max. That was their whole thing, is that they would be kind of the new gatekeepers or the new stewards of the Cartoon Network, and also Studio Ghibli and stuff like that too.
Mm.
So
Yeah, it's like, and the thing that, like, I will say the one thing that I was worried about going in was because I don't think I even saw any trailers. I went in like completely blind. I was thinking like, now is this going to be like the toned down, for lack of a better way of putting it, Space Jam versions of these characters?
mhm.
Because I like the original Space Jam, but you can tell that
Yeah.
they're toning it down
Yeah.
with the Looney Tunes for that. This is not that. Thank God. This is like and what I kind of especially love, because as much as I just love Daffy Duck in general, this is like bouncing off the walls, like, you know, smashing everything in sight with a mallet Daffy Duck.
Mhm.
This is closer to original Daffy Duck
Mhm.
than like what he later became. Um which I like both, but you can tell the people that made this love the Looney Tunes, that they
Mhm.
went for that Daffy and not the more modern Daffy, who's just basically a greedy asshole.
Mhm. Yeah, one of my favorite movies I think Daffy Duck is actually a really fun main character for one thing, and he works really well with Porky Pig.
Mm.
But one of my favorite movies that he was in was, I think it was Daffy Duck's. It was a Ghostbusters parody, so Duckbusters or something like
Ah,
that.
yeah.
I don't know if you can even find it anymore. It was mostly a cluster of shorts and stuff that had come out already, but they
Ah,
put
okay.
together this. So Quackbusters, that's what it was called. Daffy
Ah,
Duck's Quackbusters. That was 1988. So,
bloody hell.
mhm.
Of course, something I'm realizing now when I just clicked onto the Daffy Duck's Wikipedia page is it says notable films,
Mhm.
and it goes from, as far as like him being like a main lead and not just playing second fiddle to Bugs. The last time that, unless like, this could be missing stuff out, but the last one that I can see that it bothers to mention is Duck Dodgers in the 24th and a half century in 1953. So it's been a while since
Yeah.
Daffy has been a lead in a Looney Tunes movie. God knows Porky's probably never. Or if he has, it's so fucking further than that.
Mhm.
So, and like, yeah. And like, no Bugs. No anyone. Like, this is literally just Porky, uh, Porky, Petunia, and Daffy. And that's it.
Well, when was the last
As far
time we
as
saw
like Looney Tunes
Petunia?
characters go. I do not know. Like, I honestly thought she was made for this movie. That's how little that I knew about her at all.
Yeah, because
Like,
I being a girl growing up, I always gravitated towards the female characters. So you had
mm,
Mickey and Minnie, and then you had Daisy and Donald, but then you also had Petunia and Porky. So
mm. Let's see. Um, okay, so she has been in segments of newer stuff.
yeah, but Petunia Pig's been
Um,
around for years and years, way a long time, probably the 50s or so.
oh, apparently she goes back to the 30s.
Yeah. Oh,
Apparently
that's
her
right, because
first
she used to have
appearance
like
was.
pigtails and stuff.
Hmm. Yeah, apparently Porky's Romance is the first thing she was in. But yeah, like, if this is out where you are still, I'd say go see it so long as it's safe to and you can afford to. Because, like, my God, fuck you, Warner Brothers, for sitting on this. Because this movie was hilarious. This makes me more hopeful for Coyote versus Acme, which Ketchup Studios or like I think that was it. Ketchup Pictures, Ketchup Entertainment. That's it. And like they basically bought the rights to it so they can distribute it, and they've done the same for the Coyote versus Acme movie, which was otherwise just going to be written off for tax purposes.
Yeah, I didn't even know that the day the Earth blew up even existed. If it weren't, or that
Mm.
Acme existed, Coyote versus Acme,
Mm.
without the YouTuber Saberspark, who covers a bunch
Mm.
of different animation stuff. So
Mm.
I would have
Like,
never known that any of these were out.
yeah. Like I forget if this will have. I mean, I kind of hope what people were speculating might be the case, where because Ketchup were the ones to actually like put it out,
Mm-hmm.
that they'll be getting the bulk of the money from it because Warner Brothers don't deserve to get any money from this, as far as I'm concerned. But yeah, it would not shock me if this is either going to end up going one or two ways. Either the higher ups at WBD will go, okay, Zaslav, you were wrong. Fuck off. There is clearly money in this because, like, if this doesn't make its budget back, Ketchup probably didn't have the money left over to do a like massive advertising campaign. So fair enough. Um, but it has made like over it's made seemingly over 10 million with a 15 million budget. But again, like I doubt Ketchup had a massive marketing budget to throw at this. So, oh well. I just hope it makes its money up in like DVDs and Blu-rays and that. But yeah, this is really gonna go one or two ways. Either Warner Bros. Go, oh, okay, there is interest so long as we keep doing these like relatively low budget things, or they'll be like, okay, there is interest. Let's put the Looney Tunes up for sale. Bizarre as that would be for them to do, it would not shock me at this point if they do that.
That would be insane. Like, you gotta be nuts.
Hmm.
This is like one of the.
Yeah.
I know it may not be the hottest of hot properties, but it's nostalgia in a bag, and
Hmm.
in an era where selling nostalgia is like the thing to make money off of. And they're just,
Yeah.
because they already pulled down I believe, the entire Looney Tunes library that was up on
Hmm.
Max. And that's, so now
Yeah,
they're
and I
just
think,
sitting on it with the rights.
yeah, like at that point, if you don't want to have it on Max, just fucking sell it off to other people so they can put it on their services or whatever. Like, watch it. Like, they won't because I doubt they'd be allowed to, but watch fucking Disney try to swoop in and be like, oh, we'll take it off your hands then.
Mm-hmm.
That
Oh
would
my
be fucking.
gosh.
Like, I don't want it. The only reason I would is more so if like a different company did, like even if just Ketchup managed to get it,
Mm-hmm.
and then they do like, well, Warner Brothers didn't want to play ball with you, but we will. So you give us a bunch of money, and we'll make a sort of Bugs Mickey movie
Oh, that would
or
be
something like
crazy.
that.
They could do Roger Rabbit again. The sequel to Roger Rabbit.
Yeah.
They wouldn't have to worry, Disney wouldn't have to worry about negotiating with Warner Brothers then.
Hmm. Yeah, like my hope is that someone other than Disney would get it if they sell them. But
Mm-hmm.
at the very least, a third party would probably be easier to negotiate with than who has effectively been their arch rivals for God knows how long. Um. But anyway, we're getting close to an hour at this point, and that basically just turned into a tangent. Because we just thankfully
Well,
we have the time to just tangent like that. But in any case,
I mean, Warner Brothers, according to Cord Cutters News and MSN, it looks like from March 23rd and March 22nd, 2025, it says that they may be looking at selling them. So
mm,
we're not
yeah, it
too
wouldn't
far
shock
off on our
me.
guesses there.
So with Geek Talk done, we move on to the review, but with first the summary. So I'll just get a stopwatch up so I
Yay!
can have one.
Oh, that's right. I don't get to use the stopwatch because I'm reading the. I actually did type up the summary, so. All right.
So you ready?
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, 3, 2, 1, go.
Sarah Jane Smith and Josh, or her companion Josh, fly to Antarctica to meet up with a friend, Will Sullivan, of former brother of Harry Sullivan, having missed his warning not to come. Meanwhile, Will and another scientist at Nikita Base, Morgan, discuss the sudden erratic nature of lead researcher Gideon Monroe. SJ's plane lands and Monroe thanks her for her funding and escorts her into the empty base. Josh awkwardly introduces himself to Morgan. Sarah Jane dismisses Monroe to gather data for her and then confronts Will about his black eye, and Will is forced to acknowledge that Monroe has been acting strangely violent lately. With Morgan, Will, and Josh, while Morgan, Will, and Josh go to see the drill site, Sarah Jane stays to talk to Monroe. He warns her about Morgan's manipulation of the men around her, but Sarah Jane brushes it off. Goes out to help Jack, the airplane pilot, fix the frozen instruments on the plane, including the fuel dump. Morgan returns to base complaining of a headache, leaving Will and Josh to search out a penguin colony, only to quickly escape an approaching storm. Sarah Jane receives a note to meet someone in storage shed, but once there, she is attacked by a balaclava-clad stranger. With the guide ropes to Sarah Jane's last known location broken, Josh and the others only have the only comm with which Sarah is able to relay that. She was taken outside without goggles or panic button, but was able to find her way back into shelter. She seems to remember the voice of the culprit resembling Monroe's voice. Monroe is kept in check by Morgan while Will and Josh are finally able to get to Sarah Jane, finding that she has snow blindness. Morgan then radios that Monroe has escaped and has lit the building on fire, but she's cut short by gunshots. With Will and Josh gone to check on Morgan, who is dying, Monroe sneaks into the room with Sarah Jane and tells her about Morgan's discovery of enriched uranium at the drill site, and he suspects she is trying to sell it. Before he can elaborate further, he's shot by a person who winds up being Jack the pilot, who has a scheme to fly the uranium and sell it without splitting it with Morgan or her Crimson Chapter lackeys. Morgan dies wishing she could see the Crimson Chapter's prophecy come to fruition. Jack forces the blind Sarah Jane to carry the crate of uranium to his perfectly functional plane, but as he takes off, she reveals she can see after all. She jumps free, but not before pulling the fuel dump, leaving Jack to crash. Will assures them that rescue will be here within 24 hours as they take shelter in the remaining storage building. Later, the Keeper works on a funding contingency plan and orders Will Sullivan, a member of the Crimson Chapter, to kill Sarah Jane. The end.
As you did that in about 3 minutes, 3 or 4 seconds.
Cool.
So now we get to the reviews, starting with what we liked overall. And we'll go with Bill's notes first. So Bill has put, this is a very tense story. Right off the bat, nobody trusts each other and everybody split up. The tension only ratchets up from there. It's the exact opposite of the cliche, someone in this room is a murderer, but nobody knows why they should suspect each other. Yeah, like there is they do pack quite a bit of quite a bit of attention into like a
Mm-hmm.
like I think this is about an hour, yeah.
Yeah, about
Story.
50 minutes or so at least.
Mm.
I wrote down the same thing, is that everyone kind of feels suspicious except for Sarah Jane and Josh. So
Mm.
I do have my own. I do have a few other things too that I could say about what I liked about it. But yeah, I agree with Bill.
Mm. Yep. So Aaron.
Okay. So, since Bill took one of mine, I'm going to go ahead and say that I enjoy the references they keep making to the Seeds of Doom. For some reason, I kept thinking it was Seeds of Death, but I believe this is Seeds of Doom that they're referencing. And they're not just one off references, they repeatedly make references, or Sarah Jane repeatedly makes references to her first trip to Antarctica. And she even mentions, like, the actual seed pod that they found. They're like, has it hatched yet? And and like Monroe of course has no idea what she's talking about. So I thought that
Mm.
that was a nice little nostalgia trip, a nod to the classic series, and of course her time spent on there. So yeah, very good.
Mm.
What about you, Alex?
Um. Um. Oh, I'm trying to remember now. Um. I guess I just liked the overall, uh, like the overall setting, because especially because this is audio, so they can't do a lot of actiony stuff anyway. It like kind of has to be kind of the thing ish, where it's like it's more
Mm-hmm.
about what's going on, what's happening. We're in this confined space. We don't think we can leave, and like, you know, what the hell's going on, kind of a thing. Um, yeah, which in a way kind of plays into uh Bill's as well.
Yeah, but
Um,
interpersonal
otherwise,
drama.
otherwise, I guess I'd also just say that the acting in this was pretty damn solid. Um, like I did kind of guess the sort of twist of Jack being in on it, but that was less of a. I bring that up now as to say that that was like a hooray, I'm right, rather than a oh, of course they went that way with it or something. Um. So moving on from that to what we disliked overall. Worst aspect. Bill has put. The most I can say is that it's a bit contrived that Will has been trying to get a hold of Sarah Jane for a week and failed. As paranoid as both she and Josh are at alternate times, one of them should have checked the voicemail during that time. I know that 2005 is longer ago than it feels like, but I'm pretty sure it didn't take a week to get from Europe to Antarctica. Yeah. I do wonder if it's a matter of like, yeah, like that. Yeah, it does make me wonder how long they were taking to get there. In hindsight, now that he brings like now that I'm reading that he's brought that up, it's like, yeah, that is a bit weird. I feel like even in 2005, because like you could probably get to, because they would have been flying from the UK to Australia, then Australia to New Zealand, and then New Zealand to Antarctica. That would not have taken a full 7 days. Like, it would take in like the better part of a week, probably, because of just the sheer distance from Europe to Australia. Like, that has got to be an ungodly long flight. Um, they could sleep most of. I would figure. I mean, unless they were doing like a roundabout way and just sort of resting, like having a couple rest days or something, and thus we're away from the phone. Because I guess he was calling the home phone and not the like her mobile, which, you know, she would have heard the message being left. So it's the only way that really works is if they took like rest days between travel to have been a full week. But yeah. So Aaron, what is your least favorite aspect?
I think it was the fact that Morgan, we find out that Morgan, as she dies, is actually part of the Crimson chapter, but we know that Sarah Jane Smith is supposed to be the herald that, brings about the apocalypse in one form or another, at least as far as the Crimson chapter is considered. So we don't really hear Morgan talk about her at all. I mean, she does seem to have. I don't know if she doesn't. She doesn't have that protective quality to her that Will has. Will seems to be kind of, I don't know, protecting her for now or something like that, because she's supposed to be an important person to the Crimson chapter, even though she's supposed to be kind of the bad sign of the apocalypse. So yeah, I kind of wish that had been delved into a little bit more. But then again, I understand that they couldn't go into it because then that would reveal too much of Morgan and such. I kind of wish that, what was she mentions the prophecy. I kind of wish that she like had mentioned the herald too, I guess. Just like in the same breath or something. I wish I could have seen the prophecy and the herald and whatnot. So, or because it seems that she's kind of, for being part of the Crimson chapter, she seems to be kind of unaware of how important Sarah Jane Smith is to the Crimson chapter. And that could just be that she's been kind of mired in this plot to get more money for the Crimson chapter by selling this uranium. But yeah, that's it for me. So.
Yep. Just need to check something real quick. There we go. For me, it's that they lean. My least favorite aspect is that they lean a bit too heavy into Gideon being a red herring. Like it's just, especially like, there's a bit this could also lean into scenes, so I'm trying to avoid bringing up specific instances, but there's just a lot of like trying to make you think, well, it's clearly this guy, which is immediately what made me go, well, it can't be him. The foreshadow, like they're hitting the nail on the head a bit too. Like this feels a bit too on the nose. To the point that when the reveal happens that no, actually it's Jack and Morgan, I was like, oh, thank God, because that would have been so boring if it had just been Gideon.
Yeah. Do you think they were a little bit too heavy-handed on Gideon, trying to set him up as a red herring?
Like, yeah, it's just a bit too, just like a bit leaning into him being a red herring a bit too much. So now we move on to favorite scenes. Bill has said, I'll have to go with Sarah Jane revealing that she's been lying low the whole time. These two stories have been teetering on the edge of making the titular character into a damsel in distress, but in this sense, the people trying to rescue her are out of options, and she's using the one that's best available to her to win. reassert Sarah Jane Smith as the reason we are listening in the first place. Yeah.
Yeah, I see that.
Hmm. Aaron, what's your favorite scene?
I'm gonna go ahead and actually a few of them, but I'm gonna go ahead and say like the big twist in the ending of William Sullivan actually being a member of the Crimson Chapter cult. So, and the fact that
Hmm.
he is now being sent after Sarah Jane in order to kill her. Uh, Probably
Hmm.
because she's meddling, but also she's supposed to be the herald of the apocalypse. She's supposed to be. It's amazing that they haven't been like more forthcoming about trying to kill her at this point,
Yeah.
because she's supposed to be the one who causes the apocalypse, basically, or the one that presages it.
Hmm.
So, with the apocalypse being aliens
Hmm.
coming to Earth, which, unbeknownst to them, they've been coming to Earth for a while now. I would think that
Yeah, like
that's yeah.
I will admit I was like I had to figure this got to be something up with this guy,
Yeah, he's
but
a
I
little
was
off.
yeah, but like I was surprised that they let the cat out of the bag this early. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, mind you, this is only effectively like there's only like 5 episodes in this series. So they have to like get get there as quick as they can. But even then, for some reason I was like, "Oh, I'm not I was less surprised at the reveal than I was just the fact that they did it now and not like an episode or two later."
Mm-hmm. Yeah, like I could see this
um,
being the ending for episode 4, maybe like bum bum bum.
mm,
But like we mentioned before, like when he meets her in the restaurant and she's expecting to see Harry, like for one thing, I don't think Harry even mentions that he has a brother, does he?
uh,
I don't remember him mentioning that he has a brother, so
hmm,
yeah. Yeah, so it's kind of interesting. So,
hmm.
yeah.
Like yeah, like when they first met in the first story, it comes up that he's um Harry's half brother
Oh
or
yeah, a
step
half
brother, I think
brother.
it
Yeah.
was. But was it? Yeah, it was a half brother or step brother, one of the two. Um, and like it's basically just you remember it from that, and if you know, otherwise they are. I think yeah, that's like the only way they brought it up. Um,
I was kind of
as far
hoping.
as
Oh, sorry.
you can go, I was gonna go on to mine.
Oh, I was hoping that they were going to have him be along on a few more adventures too, just to really sink him in there as a stand-in for Harry Sullivan. And that just have him do kind of
Hmm.
the same, have him do the same actions, have him be kind of maybe not quite as bumbling, maybe be a little bit more competent. I mean, during this story they do refer to him as the doctor, so he could almost
Yeah.
bring on like a surrogate doctor role too, something that's a little Harry Sullivan,
Hmm.
something that's a little bit doctor for Sarah Jane. There could even be a blossoming romance between them or so, but that's just my shipping
Hmm.
mentality. So
But in any case, for my favorite scene, I think I'm gonna go with. Let's see. You know what? I'm gonna go with Morgan's death purely because the bit that got me like, ooh, hang on, was that Will basically like him and Josh are kind of arguing or whatever, and like talking about like the Crimson chapter stuff that comes up, and like I don't think. he acknowledges it until later as like, what's that? At first, he's just kind of like not like just kind of pretending he doesn't know what she's saying. But then Josh is like, but why does she know about the? It's like, why does she know about the? Oh, God, I've forgotten what it's called already. Because it's not the Crimson Chapter. It's like the.
It's like the actual prophecy book, I believe.
Yeah, and like, and Will is just like, that doesn't matter now. We have to go get Sarah or something like that. And it's just like, just that like tiny thing of not trying to play off like he doesn't know what that is. And he's just like, well, that doesn't matter. Now we've got to go to Sarah. He's like more deflecting the question rather than being like, I don't know what that is. Come on, let's go save Sarah or whatever. That was just so, something about that. Something about the way they did that made me go, ooh, okay. He didn't deny knowledge of it in that instance. He's just trying to change the subject. That was like very subtle, but it was a very, like, to me, that was a very good moment. In any case, moving on to least favorite / worst scenes. Bill has said Sarah saying over and out. That did occur. Like, I'll get into what Bill said, but yeah, like that occurred to me as well as like, oh yeah, I remember learning that what Bill's about to say over here. For those who don't know, over means I'm done speaking for now, but I'm still part of the conversation. Out means I'm done speaking and I'm exiting the conversation. Saying both is a contradiction. And Sarah Jane is experienced enough to know that. The only reason she should be saying that is to identify someone who is a novice pretending to be experienced, and that never happens in the story. Yeah, that's like, I feel like that's one some people might think is a nitpick, but yeah, that is a funny, like, movie, TV thing that just people go with. And then you're like, I forget how I learned about that was the case. Is like, no, you wouldn't say over and out. Over just means done. Which is funny. It's like, yeah, I don't know how my dad did it at work when he was a train driver. But I know at, like, I work as a cleaner in a shopping center. We just say, like, copy to acknowledge that we've, not that we don't like say that after like after we finish talking. It's more of a like acknowledgement that we've heard someone and that's it. Like, or like copy that or something like that. But we, there is one person at one of the people that does the customer service desk that does say over after everything, and I find that so bizarre, and I do find that legitimately bizarre because it's like, have you, like, I get never having talked on a radio before, but it was funny that happens. And yeah, like, I'm not surprised the over and out thingy happens, but yeah, it's funny. It's always kind of like knowing that movies get that, like movies and TV shows get that wrong, just makes it always funny now when it comes up.
Yeah, I never really learned about that. Like, when I was working for the convention, or working as a dealer's head for the convention there, I know that we always said over. No one ever really said out, really, all that much. But I never really learned the difference when they trained us on how to do the walkie-talkies or the radios. So yeah, that's kind of cool, and I do kind of agree with Bill that I could see Sarah using it as a way to kind of trip up an amateur or maybe a spy or someone who doesn't really know what they're talking about.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those things where like it's more of a it's also just kind of an inconsistency in like yeah, just media in general tends to get that wrong. So it's one of those not really surprising things. But anyway, what is your least favorite scene, Aaron?
My least favorite scene is the flirtation between Morgan and Josh at the very beginning is just utter cringe. Like, guess I'm an Antarctic virgin. It's just like that's so bad.
Yeah.
I get that it's supposed to be awkward, but like, and like, I can't say that there's no sexuality in Doctor Who because you have Terminus with like Nyssa and Tegan walking around in their underwear, but or their slips technically, but um what do you call it? It's just so overt compared to what you usually see and hear for the show. Even
Yeah.
in Torchwood, like I mean, well, I guess
Mm.
Torchwood would be the exception,
But
but
yeah, Torchwood is more than this. Honestly, New Who had a lot of like references like this kind of thing that Josh does, but
mhm.
probably even not that blatant. It'd be more like Jack flirting with someone
Oh
or
yeah.
something like that, rather than like making a joke about being uh an Antarctic virgin and her being like, "Oh, I guess we'll try to make your first time as enjoyable as possible" or something.
Yeah.
Um which mind you, I have a feeling it's intentionally cringe, like it's
Yeah.
intentionally supposed to be like he's trying to hit on this woman who I mean, we don't really get any physical descriptions, but it's probably like out of his league.
Yeah.
um so he's just awkwardly trying to hit on her and she's just kind of like, well, why not? I guess I'll go with it.
Mm.
So for me, and this leans into my least favorite aspect or role, is just one thing that they do to emphasize the ultimate, what's ultimately a red herring for Gideon, is getting into the argument with everyone and then hitting Morgan and then trying to play it off as like, oh, well, she riled me up to do that. And I'm like, mate, you're not helping your case. Like, everyone around you is like, dude, come on. Like, hitting another guy is fine, but it's like, because I don't even think there's like a sound effect before it to be like, she hit him first.
Mhm.
So he hit back. So he could maybe try to argue, oh, hey, she hit me first. So I was just, retaliating with one hit to get back at her for that. It's more so just like, no, she was verbally egging him on, is what he's claiming. And it's
Mm.
like, mate, that's not helping the game. But
Yeah.
it's just like, but it's also just like, did we have to do that? Like, for a guy that is ultimately not the bad guy? Like, if it was a matter of like, haha, actually, I am the bad guy. Like, okay, fair enough. But it's like, no, actually, it turns out that Morgan is one of the villains.
It's
So it's
okay to
like,
hit an evil woman or a woman who winds up being the bad guy later.
mm. So yeah, it's just like, if he'd like, if he hadn't so much hit her as like, I don't know, like got up in her face, she'd step back and fell over and like hurt herself or something. So it was more like his actions still led to her getting hurt, but it wasn't him just hitting her. Because we don't even know how. We don't know if he like backhanded her, which was probably the most likely. Or like, I'm assuming it wasn't a flat out punch, but it is still just like, even for like the more adult tone, like adult tone that this is going for compared to like classic Who or New Who, it's still very like, that still feels a bit too far.
Yeah, it feels a bit iffy. Like, I mean, again, I could probably see that happening in Torchwood. In fact, I think it does happen in Torchwood.
Yeah, it wouldn't surprise me. I can't remember any examples off the top of my head, but it wouldn't surprise me if Gwen's been smacked around by someone on that.
Well, possibly by Captain Jack. You know, as he smacks some sense into her. Yeah, I agree. It's a kind of a not the greatest moment in the show.
So moving on from that to final thoughts. First we have Bill's. I like the story a lot more than the last one. There are enough breadcrumbs and enough red herrings that you're constantly trying to figure out who is the villain. Granted, the first time I listened to this, I forgot the pilot had stayed with them. So maybe the mystery sticks in the memory as being more complicated than it was if you remembered him. But either way, it was entertaining. Yeah.
I agree.
Aaron, your final thoughts?
I agree with kind of your analysis that it does feel kind of like John Carpenter's The Thing, where you have a group of people kind of freaking out in the middle of the Arctic in an enclosed space, a hostile environment. Yeah, like the use of the guide ropes and everything. A lot of little details that they work in: goggles, guide ropes, panic button, probably even proper clothing, I'm sure. So that all kind of adds up, adds a little bit more flair. Devil's in the details, you know, that kind of thing. So I do have some kind of questions as to like, do the news stories in the Sarah Jane adventure, I know some of them tie into like the or Sarah Jane Smith series, some of them do tie back into the episodes that we hear. Like, for example, there's a news story after this about the about Nikita Base and everything, the fire at Nikita Base. But like, what about like the space travel, the first like tourist orbital flight, and that does that tie? Is that a reference to like a previous Doctor Who serial that I'm just kind of blanking on, or same thing with all the other news stories we get?
Yeah, like I'm kind of assuming that that's building to something that'll come up in the finale. Because otherwise it'd be weird to keep referencing it.
Is that only in the second season, or are those news flashes in the first season?
I think there might have been news flashes in the first, but it wasn't this regular, I don't think.
Okay.
Like, it was just... this is definitely, like, a theme so far, anyway.
Okay.
For this series, is doing those. And it might just be to, like, remind you that that's a thing. Because it's likely gonna... It would not shock me if it comes up in, like, one of the last two. Because I wouldn't be shocked if this rich dude who's going on about, oh, I spent X amount on getting on a ticket on this flight, which honestly, it sounds like he's supposed to be a parody of Richard Branson.
Yeah, he's like the only person on the flight because he bought out all the other seats, I believe, is the whole thing.
Something like that, yeah.
I can't remember. I should go back and listen because I can't remember what the other ones are, and I do feel like they are. I might take notes on them too.
Yeah, like if I remember right, so far there's always been like like so far, yeah, the previous one there was a mention of this, and this guy came up and had a soundbite,
Mm-hmm.
and then it goes into like stuff that ties into the episode more, I think. And then
Yeah.
there's like the one at the end that's like, here's what happened in the episode.
Mm-hmm.
So,
Hmm. Yeah, because like the previous one was like, oh yeah, the so and so's professor's body's been found, but must have died of
mm,
natural causes or something like that because they can't go into detail about what happened to him,
mm, yeah.
or they're not allowed to.
Mm. But yeah, as far as my final thoughts go, I really enjoyed this. And it definitely shows that either this just stuck with me better, or um or what, because I realized that I remembered a lot more about it than I thought I would, given I figured I'm going to work before we do this, so my memory is just probably going to be wiped from like, oh god. I mean, yeah, like I listened to like half before I left for work and the rest before we started,
Mm-hmm.
but I was still just like, oh no, is this going to like just fall out of my brain? And no, it actually stuck pretty well, which is definitely a lot like and you know, so it makes a lot of sense that I have ADHD, because
Mm-hmm.
there's plenty of times where I'm like, I have to rewatch it right before we do it so it's fresh
Mm-hmm.
in my
Yep.
mind.
I have to
Um,
take notes myself, so.
yeah, and it stuck in my head better than I thought it would, because I just because of being distracted a lot, these were the only two times I listened to it, were today and last night. So,
Mm-hmm.
um, but yeah, like I enjoyed this a lot. The acting in this is quite solid. The Gideon stuff does kind of bug me in that they lean a bit too heavy into it, especially with like when he shows up to Sarah while she's still kind of blind, and has like a very creepy thing of like, now it's just us, kind of a moment where it's like, dude, come on. Because then like they're talking normally, so it's like, why the fuck did you sound so creepy then? um but in any case, I think it was pretty good. It's just like that one obvious knock against it. So now we go to ratings, and Bill has given this a 4.5. Erin, what is your rating?
I originally was going to give it a 3.5 on the first listening, then I boosted that on the second listening, and then after Bill's review, I boosted it once again back up to a 4.5 as well. Um,
And honestly, I am going to agree. So that's a clean slate for that. So those 4.5s, funnily enough, average out to 4.5.
Ooh.
So that will put this, whoopsie, at about da, 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 da. Let's see. Where are the 4.5s? And at about 88 out of a out of 483 things reviewed. So I mean, generally it's in the top 100, so that's pretty high. It is on par with. Okay, we'll do. I'll do the thing Bill does, where we'll just do stuff that makes sense to bring up in this context. So, Big Finish, The Poison of Peladon, Ninth Doctor Adventures, The Hunting Season. And I'm not going to go through all of this because 4.5s are endless.
Mm-hmm.
Sarah Jane Smith, Test of Nerve. Sarah Jane Adventures, Goodbye Sarah Jane Smith. Sarah Jane Adventures, The Nightmare Man. Sarah Jane Adventures, Death of the Doctor. Big Finish, Spare Parts. War Doctor, The Thousand Worlds Harder Battle. And I think that's about it, surprisingly. Not as much on the Big Finish or just Sarah Jane related stuff to bring up in that case. It is better than... let's see what we got. 10th Doctor Adventures Time Reaver. Jago and Lightfoot, The Spirit Trap. The Judgment of Ishkar. Destiny of the Doctor, Smoke and Mirrors. Planet of the End. Sarah Jane Smith, The Man Who Never Was. And is not as good as The Death of Peladon, Zagreus, Susan's War Part 2, The Uncertain Shore, Sarah Jane Adventures, The Empty Planet, and Susan's War Part 4, The Shoreditch Intervention. I could keep going, but there's a couple things. Oh, I guess I'll just also say that it's also not as good as Sarah Jane Adventures, Whatever Happened to Sarah Jane. So yeah, that falls at about 88 out of 483 things reviewed. And that's all we have to say about Sarah Jane Smith Snowblind. So, let us know in the comments what you think of this week's episode if you've watched it. And don't forget to like the video if you've listened this far. Subscribe on YouTube to get our exports every week. Or follow us on Twitch to get notified when we stream. Next time, I forgot to bring this up because I didn't have time. We will be back sooner than usual because as Doctor Who is going to be airing again, we'll be back to doing weekly as best we can. Stuff might come up and we probably won't have everyone here for all of them because, you know, we have lives to live.
Yeah.
And things happen. But short of at least two of us not being available, we will be back here in a week's time to cover the start of Season 41, Series 15, Season 2, whatever you want to call it, with the episode The Robot Revolution, written by Russell T. Davies, and starring Ncuti Gatwa as the Doctor, and Varada Sethu as... Oh wow, I'm already blanking on what her character is called. Belinda Chandra. So, we'll see you then.
Bye-bye, everyone. Have a good night.